الحمد الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So tonight, inshallah ta'ala, or this evening, we'll be continuing discussing the book Al-Arba'in An-Nawawiyya, and we've been discussing Hadith, which is As-Sadis wa Thalathun, which is the 36th Hadith in this series. And the Hadith somewhat lengthy, that as we mentioned before, that it covers various topics. So we have covered most of those topics, and we'll try to discuss of the remaining topic in today's session, bi'awnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So off we remain concerning the Hadith that we had started, that where the Prophet ﷺ of what remain of the Hadith. So we discussed concerning Wallahu, or what remains. Wallahu fi awn abd ma kana al-abd fi awn akhi man salaka tariqan yaltamis fihi ilman sahhala Allahu bihi tariqan ila jannah wa ma ijtama qawm fi bayt min buyutillah yatluna kitabullah wa yatadarasuna بينهم إلا نزلت عليهم السكينة الحديث. So we try to cover this part of the hadith in today's session regarding of two things that a continuation of what he mentioned of the previous discussion, where it mentioned that Wallahu fi awn abd ma kana abd fi awn akhi, as a part of what we were covering last week regarding a Muslim assisting of others. So a Muslim offering assistance to others. So it mentioned that of the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would aid of those who aid others. As we mentioned before, that's a form of jaza min jins al-amal, that a person, according to what effort that they made, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them according with something which is similar. So aiding and assisting others, then the person will be aided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their time of need. So it mentioned regarding concerning that of that aid of others, that with a condition that whatever aid is offered to others is within what is allowed in Islam. So if a person wishes to aid and support someone, it should be in those matters which is allowed within Islam. As for aiding and supporting others in things which is contrary to Islam, then no. Then that is not to be done. So it shows regarding assisting of others and helping of others. Then it mentions Wallahu fi awn abd, that this is regarding concerning assisting of others, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward a person according. So it mentioned that al-abd, that is mentioned here, it mentioned Wallahu fi awn al-abd. So this abd, it mentioned al-abd, which is like the servant, but this will include, it have a general meaning which it includes male, female, hur wal and everyone else. So anyone regarding concern that the person is a male or female, where the person is said to be a free person or a non-free person, then they all are included in what is said to be an abd. ما كان العبد في عون أخيه, as a person who is therefore to give support to it. Well, that support, it could be by way of that support, I said iyana, could be by way of bil qalb, a sort of person regarding concern to know that being with them, as I said, to one's feelings, and also it could be support by way of through feelings. And that emotional support also be yet as with the person physically, and or bilisan, or with his tongue, or bil mal, or his word, or ja, or the person might either can be of those due to his status, assist others. So intervene on behalf of others because of his status and how he is held, or he is looked upon by others. So these are various ways in which the person assisting of others. So that hadith kind of some fall in line what we had mentioned before, and as in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the hadith of Jabir, what the hadith states of what the hadith meaning that is mentioned, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ, that the best of people are those that are most useful to others. Or so it shows regarding the Muslim being helpful towards others, then a person does so with a condition that as aid and assistance, it is within line of Islam. So with that, as conclude regarding that matter, regarding those areas of assisting of others, covering of people's fault and the likes, covering of people's faults and the likes. Then the next of the things that hadith it mentioned regarding of those actions that are mentioned in hadith that are of encouraging action that the Muslims should try to be involved in. It mentioned man salaka tariqan. So this part of the hadith now discussed regarding even concerning that those things that are praiseworthy is the Muslim regarding seeking of knowledge. Man salaka tariqan yaltamis fihi ilm, that a person who goes in the pathway or a person go out in seeking of knowledge. Then I mentioned Sahalallah lahu bihi tariqan ila Jannah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for him his path to Jannah. Then also added to that regarding knowledge and sharing of knowledge. Then it mentioned وَمَا اجْتَمَى قَوْمٌ فِي بَيْتٍ مِّن بُيُوتِ اللَّهِ يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَيَتَدَارَسُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِلَّا نَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمَ السَّكِينَةُ وَغَشَّتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةُ وَحَفَّتْهُمْ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. So that's the concern. So that mentioned the praise regarding of ilm, also regarding of the Quran. So it encouraged regarding seeking of ilm and also that a person giving attention to the Quran. So regarding this matter, what can be said regarding, as we mentioned here, then that hadith, it supports regarding encouraging of ilm. That each Muslim try to seek something of ilm. And more so regarding that those people who take this, as we said, not that take on this as that take on this path of seeking of ilm for the rest of their life. So it's a quest that they seek as a form of life quest in seeking of ilm. Or it could be impartial. So the person might seek some level of knowledge. So it shows regarding that is praiseworthy whether the person wish to be in this path of seeking of knowledge for the rest of their life, or for a part of their life to seek what they need to function as a Muslim. So generally show the encouragement regarding of ilm. So it mentioned of the hadith man salaka tariqan, that the one who seek a path. So they mentioned that man salaka, it applies to anyone, and that man could include male or female. So even concerning a female seeking the path of seeking to study of Islam, then within that which is suitable for a female, then mention as, and then also a male who wishes to seek of knowledge for man salaka. So anyone who would mention salaka tariqan. So it means concern a person of taking up this journey or this pathway of seeking of knowledge. So they mention tariq, that a person of taking a path, which is concerning that the person I mentioned, which is the person which is mahsusa, which is the physical pathway, whether the person of seeking of knowledge, where the person may have to travel, they have to somewhat so in travel in some way of seeking of knowledge. This could be of this travel, could be which is a long distance travel or short distance travel. Still a part of it. Could a person have to travel far or travel near? Is the person seeking, taking that path and traveling in seeking of knowledge. So also it shows regarding that to know that regarding knowledge is for the student to seek of knowledge. So regarding the students is the one that is upon the student, that for them to be the one to be the seeker of knowledge, not per se the teacher being the one seeking student. So it mentioned that of seeking of this knowledge physically, by taking that pathway, that a person could do so by land, sea, or air, whichever way. So the person taking, so traveling of the lands, using of traveling of the ocean, crossing the oceans, also by a jaw, by air travel, whichever way the person that a person able can seek of that knowledge and to go to those places of knowledge, then the person they do so. They take that path. So they mentioned regarding concerns that is seeking of that knowledge. And seeking of knowledge, that some of the ulama discussed that in this hadith, they mentioned yaltamis. So they mentioned which is yatlub. So seeking of knowledge, the person yaltamis, not a person seeking of knowledge. And it's a talibul ilm that sees it as his field, or the thing that becomes his skill or area of concentration or effort in seeking of knowledge, which would be the intention is for the rest of his life. So you have the person who that they have taken on seeking of knowledge and gathering of knowledge, as that become that would be their field, their interests, but they'll give this all of their life. They'll give this all of their life. So that becomes their skill. That becomes of their skill. Then I mentioned yaltamis, which is an yatlub, that they go in seek of knowledge. So for the person to seek, so they encourage regarding going out to seek of knowledge. You mentioned ilman, where of the ulama who mentioned that the ilm that is being mentioned here, or what is intended, is ilm al-shar'i. So ulum al-shar'i, so different Islamic science, that a person who goes in seek of the Islamic science. That's what's intended. Then you find of the ulama who mentioned that ilman, that this applies to across the board, all other science, whether Islamic and non-Islamic science, that is allowed, that is jaiz, that is allowed. So the person, for example, they said that this hadith also could apply to the person who wished to be a dentist, the person who wished to be a mechanic. So they are going to seek a knowledge to specialize in that field so as to benefit the Muslim, benefit themselves and also the Muslim. So of those who can see apply ilm across the board, but you find that majority are all concerned that what is intended, ilm al-shar'i, Islamic knowledge.
When you said all of their life, does that mean they don't work or anything like this?
So that could mean that in the sense of that the person might dedicate themselves to seek of knowledge could be in some cases that a person dedicated his life to study, where that becomes is all of his time is placed into this. That becomes his work. And another who may see that they may do other things, but also combine between things of their normal work, job, and also seeking of knowledge. They combine between both. But the time that the one who give all their time, then that will be much different compared to the person who give some of his time.
So can one charge money to give that knowledge out after they've learned it? Make a living out of that.
As we had discussed before, regarding the Salaf, concerning seeking of knowledge or charging people for knowledge, is something that was frowned upon by the ulama of the past. Even though you find that a few may have, but you find of those who frowned upon taking some form of compensation, and some financial compensation for ilm. But of those things, of those who mentioned that regarding concerns, you have those ilm which is said the normal, that is that the normal practice is not to charge. But if the person charged because of there's a reason. So it's a general practice not to charge, but except for a reason. The person maybe that a person of ilm, but they're somewhat miskeen and they have a family. With me? So they'll charge somewhat because of their condition. They have no other means of acquiring some form of way of living, so they kind of somewhat will charge for their knowledge. But also that put in context regarding that of the ilm that one impart upon others or teach others. You have those ilm which is wajib upon every Muslim, the basic things. Then one shouldn't charge for those things. So the basic level, the most Muslim is the wajib upon a Muslim to know how to pray, the basic how to pray. So the basic level of ilm should be majanan. But the person more advanced level, then maybe something the person could charge because become the person that is more specialized type. So those are things to weigh up. But I said before, the ulama kind of somewhat they look down upon charging for ilm. So sometimes between the ulama of hadith that they see it as a form of ta'an, a serious criticism of a narrator who charge for knowledge. But said now so it's putting things in some perspective.
Well, what about in the time when people buy knowledge that's just in books?
Sorry?
Publications.
Now, with publication, then I said that that's a different level of passing of knowledge. So you'll find that the person that what is that for the person that charge by the sale of the book, and that comes that now it comes like an ijma of its permissibility. So it was between the ulama and talabat al-ilm regarding publishing of books and getting earnings from that. They see it as something which is today considered to be like an ijma. You understand the permissibility? The area that they have a discussion regarding that copyright, that may be more so the area of more of a discussion. That copyright, that I have this book, that I have copyright for this book, so no one is allowed to make copies of it except with my permission, and then charge for it. Some of the ulama kind of someone said, no, if you have put the book out, then you understand, then it becomes public property. As a public, the public can make use of it in the form of copying or just saying or purchasing. But those things, those are more of the ear of the discussion. Some give some that copyright, that they are more lenient regarding this copyright. Some still, because of the person's effort of putting that book together, publishing that book, and putting a copyright to it, then that's his, because that's his effort. You understand? So it becomes that his property is property. So if you want to copyright, they need his permission. If any copy is to be made, then he should get his permission because that's his effort. So that's the ear more so. But as for printing, then generally, and gaining, selling off those books, then generally no problem.
If the printers fall into the copyright issue.
And so that will be a part of it. So you have printers and the author. That's usually agreement between both sides.
Oh, okay.
You understand? So regarding concern that that a person, so you either find that a person who have authored a book, that he has his own ways of publishing, printing the book, and to have like no printing, publishing name on it because that's a personal effort. You understand? And sometimes I might give it away free or might, but that's like he's the one who's the author and also he's the publisher. So he gets, you understand? Then you have others who the person authored the book, but then you have a printing company or publisher. They will be the one to print the books. You give them the master copy, they print it, and he and him just kind of somewhat work out a deal between themselves.
And what happens with the maqtutat? The authors, they're dead. 200, 300, but they're maqtut, they turn them into books, for example.
Also maqtutat, you have two aspects to get maqtutat.
Print them and make money.
The maqtut that is in this, what is it in English, is manuscript form. You understand? That is not accessible to most and even readable to most. You understand? Because of that style of writing. We my maqtut. What do you call it? Manuscript. You understand? So that writing generally, those words that access to the general public is usually difficult. And even to get access to it in most part, like online you can get them. Online, you understand, but there's the regular ones. But most of the time you have to pay for them. I have the maqtut, the manuscript, in my house, in my library. You want access, you have to pay me to print them. You understand? Then even that the case, then a person then regarding concern that a person now who I got the person who have now worked on it, which is someone work, but then you have put it you have done some work on it where you have now edited and put it in a format that is now easier, more accessible to the public at large in a fashion which they're used to today, in a book form. So I said that effort now becomes your effort. That becomes not a book form that you have it now, so his maqtut is still there, but this effort now becomes your effort. Reading it, put it in your stand, so that becomes now your effort, so you're charging for this effort, not for this. You understand? You're charging for your effort. I'll put it in a way which is more legible for people to read and have access to, so that becomes now your effort. So it becomes like your book somewhat, or your effort. Because even maqtut is not given away, they are told. You understand? Maqtut, even if the person who owns them, and the person who is being kind, but most of the time, they're being sold. You want a copy of this, then you have to pay for it. For the person who's the owner. Then you can so regarding concerning al-ilm, that we mentioned the ulama, majority of the ulama take concern that in the hadith we mention ilm, mean ilm al-shar'iyya, Islamic knowledge, Islamic science, not science of the dunya. Then of the ulama who see it more general, that said that ilm, it both applies to Islamic science and also science of the dunya. That will be benefit to the Islam, and that's a science which is, said, jaiza, to study under that science, and also of a benefit to the person and also to the Muslim. To the person and to the Muslim. But we said most of the ulama see this hadith, and most of the hadith that discuss the praise of ilm as being ilm al-shar'i. So of those things that we mentioned, so of the things that could be added regarding that discussion regarding seeking of knowledge and the benefit of knowledge, and also of the Quran, that you find that ulama also have, as we mentioned, that have written regarding books specifically regarding this particular topic of matters pertaining to ilm and seeking of knowledge. So it says no, books regarding talabatul ilm. So those books are geared towards those people who have somewhat dedicated their life to studying of Islam, in most part, or people who have that desire that it has certain formalities and rules and procedures. So seeking of knowledge, that it have a system in place. So it have dawabit, guidelines, usul, fundamental principles, and also it have a manhaj. So seeking of knowledge, it comes with all those things. It comes with all those things for a person to to approach it correctly and properly, and truly to benefit from it. So the seeking of knowledge, it has dawabit. So ilm of dawabit, it have a manhaj, it have usul. So the person has to kind of somewhat follow those guidelines. So how we can find ways to know those guidelines? With me? So the way to go and to know the guidelines of seeking of ilm and what comes with it. That you find, I would say, the books that are dedicated to that topic. So just mention you have many books I've written over the centuries, or over different centuries regarding the adab of the talib, but they refer to as adab al-talib, the adab, which is the mannerism and the conduct of the talib, but it goes to different things. So you find that of those books, we just mention two examples, which are more of the books that are more in our time that are used regarding that particular topic. So it would include, as we mentioned, that so for example, and this will just give the page of the context, that he divide the book, which is of this book, is called Al-Tazkira Al-Sama Wa-Mutakallim Fi Adab Al-Alim Wa-Muta'allim, and by Ibn Jama. So Ibn Jama, that he wrote his book. Today is now this book become like a popular book regarding Adab al-Talib. You understand? This is one print. You have many prints of this book. What is this one that I pulled out of the same book, right? So this can somewhat give some tazkira as-sama wal mutakallim. So as it mentioned, fi adab al-alim. So the adab, the conduct of the alim, the person who's an alim, he has certain conduct that he has to follow, and guidelines, and also muta'allim, and also the student. So about the teacher and the student of certain conduct and behavior and rules that they have to conform to. The more the more they are applied, then the more sign of correctness in ilm and also sincerity. So also the more they apply is a sign of even more so the person's sincerity, being genuine regarding of ilm, and also regarding the person then also being a more better ambassador of the person carrying of this ilm. So the more the person conform or follow the rules, then it's a sign of the person's sincerity and his honesty regarding concerning ilm, by wanting to know the rules and guidelines so as to adapt them, and also the person level of success in seeking of ilm. And also the person, as we said, being like, it shows also the person now can be a more of a proper ambassador in carrying of ilm. If you miss off these things, these rules, then it becomes a problem. The more shortcomings the person has, then it becomes more problematic for him and for others. So that's the importance of those adab. So in summary, they mentioned that when you mention these adab, Ibn Jama', that he mentioned first, he mentioned a book like they mentioned it like 5 abwab. He has like 5 chapters. The first chapter he discussed concerning fi fadl al-ilm wal ulama wa fadl ta'alim wa ta'allumu. That the first chapter they discuss the virtue of ilm. So the person understand the value of ilm, and also the value of the ulama. So the person understand the value of the ulama and the status of the ulama, by way of, and also the virtue of teaching others and also learning. So that becomes that thing for the person, that to give the person like that motivation, that ulul imma, ulum ilma in English, aspiration. The person understand the value of that thing. What's the value of ilm? Then also the value of the ulama, as they are the ones who are the carrier of ilm. And also what's the value regarding learning of ilm. And also the value of the person teaching and learning. So the person who have acquired that ilm, it can somewhat motivate them to teach because they understand its value. And also it also helps to encourage and motivate that person that for them to learn of ilm and how to do so. How to learn of ilm in the correct way. Then the second thing that he mentioned in this book, that he mentioned باب ثاني في آداب العالم في نفسي ومراعاة طلبه ودرسي. And also the thing the alim, so the adab of the alim. What are the conduct, the protocol for the alim? Type, so there's certain type of adab, conduct, protocol, rules regarding how the alim should function. Now, so you can identify that the more the person of these things, you can identify those ones who are on it and the ones who are not on it. And also with that concerning for the alim, concerning he as a person, his personal conduct and behavior, and how he function, and also how he is with concerning that in seeking, and also his dars, and with his students. How he function with himself, and also with others, would be his student in the lesson, and also the general people. Naam, so the alim, then that has to be in a sense to those, that knowledge has to be manifest in how he deal with others. First would be his student in the lesson, with a general mass, how he conduct and behave himself. So all that manifests, have to be manifest in the alim regarding is adab. Then he mentioned that, so kind of break that down as we mentioned in those 2 areas or 3 areas. Then, so how the alim conduct himself when he's in the lesson, his own personal conduct, and that's concerning his conduct not just when he's in lesson, also when he's on the street, when he goes to the masjid, when he comes from the masjid, when he goes to his house. You understand? So how he is as an alim. That it is mentioned, if my memory serves me well, that Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah ta'ala, that one day mentioned that a person came to visit him. And I know the name of the person, that person was an ex-alim. But Shaykh Al-Bani is seen as senior to him. But he said when a person, somebody met the person and they talk and the person left and they asked about the person who left. He said, فيه سمت العالم. He has like the features or the signs of an alim. So on a person will recognize that the next person who's a what? An alim. They can say that person, you have the characteristics of an alim. Or in a sense, that's how they interact with each other. How they interact, so you have certain things of signs. So the alim would have certain signs that can be detected. Then the next of the thing that he discussed regarding concerning that mentions adab muta'allim. So regarding the student, how now the student should conduct and behave himself. So on the same line, how he as a student should conduct himself as a person in his personal life, as a talib. Nam. Also, that's so in that field, how I should conduct myself as a talib. And we said in general concern to know, everyone is a talib. Even the alim is still a talib. Because he's still seeking of knowledge. That doesn't stop. That never stops. Now, anyone will let you know what my knowledge, it stops. I don't need to continue to study and learn, then he has been deceived by the shaitan. Been deceived by the shaitan. That even the Anbiya, Musa alayhi salam with Khidr and all that, was still in pursuit of knowledge. Now, so the journey of seeking of knowledge, it never stops until death. So I mentioned regarding concern the talib that also that there's certain things that regarding himself, regarding his personal conduct and behavior. So look to himself, and how he behave and conduct himself. Also of those things that he has to be mindful of is conduct towards the shuyukh, regarding concerning of the shuyukh, and who he looks as an example. As to who he looks as an example. So those are the things that are regarding how he conduct himself regarding the people of ilm. Type, so issues and the people of ilm in general. How to conduct himself with people of ilm. And also as a talib, how he conduct himself, as he mentioned here, في آدابه في دروسه وقراءته في حلقة. And also regarding that, how he conduct himself in when he is with his other colleagues. So the talib, when he's with his other colleagues, how he conduct himself, behave. When he's in the lesson, how he behave himself. So all those things he take into account. Also, so with his colleagues and others, so the talib has to be, you understand, those things also are upon him. Those things also he has to be mindful of. Then I mentioned the fourth of those abwab that he discussed. في الآداب ما الكتب التي هي آلة العلم. So he mentioned that also of those things which is important in the life of a talib. In today's time, it's a bit different. We find out of the fourth chapter discussed concerning the adab of the talib in al-ilm in relation to adab mal kutub, that the behavior that you should have and conduct and relationship with your books. So for the person in the field of knowledge, there's behavior, there's a conduct protocol regarding how you relate to your books. In acquiring books, so I have to think that acquiring of books, like in today, that when you with some of the tullab and talk about books, that they taught the study of Shamila, what we call today Shamila. So Shamila is like an app, Dawood? Is an app, some type of app or website you can go and they have many books. You understand? Many books. Like a library, it's an online library. It's an online library type of thing. So a person rather than buying the books, which is, you understand, that go to, we call it Shamila or the likes, and you can get what you want. Most of it's traditional books. I'm not really an online book person like that. I like the physical books. You understand? To go through and scroll for me is difficult. Because you want something you want to skip and go back. I understand it becomes too much for me. You understand? To go back and to find something that you mentioned. I mentioned something before to go back and find. It's too much for me. That's not my cup of tea, as they say. But others may be more comfortable with that. But I like the physical book type of thing. So I'm saying with me, with physical book, that I will discuss. So I mentioned that with Adab with the Talib with this book, by way of collection of book and how you are with your books. So collecting of books, what to get as books, and also that relationship you have with books concerning, what to read, what's meant for research. So all those things that you said that all are part of it. So the gathering of books. So instead of think of gathering of books, that as I said, sometimes you might find that one book that have maybe many, for example, Sahih Bukhari as a book. Sahih Bukhari itself has many different prints, just the book itself. You have makhtutat. You have concerning you can buy the manuscript of Sahih Bukhari online. So that's one of the next projects to start to buy them, but they're more expensive. You understand? So buying makhtut, especially of those the most classical books. I believe it's a good investment. The more classical books of Kutubu Sitta and the likes that have them even in manuscript if you're able. So with books, it goes back to the personal look concerning of the things regarding buying of book. One, place to store them, storage. And the second thing, your what? Financial ability. So having of books, type of thing, I said Bukhari, you understand that with Bukhari might have many, for example, one book sometimes it have many explanation. Should I just get one and that's sufficient? That's not the tradition of the ulama. Just have one and that's sufficient. With the tradition of the ulama, if they get as many of the different explanation of one book that they're able. Because you understand that each book may have something other doesn't have. And also you can cross-reference. One book may explain things more clearer than the other. The words a bit more older language, more. So you might find we make that comparison. Sometimes one gives more clarity compared to another. So that's concerning those. As I mentioned about general concern that show that the Talib al-Ilm also that he should have a library. Should have a library of physical books that he refer to and study and the likes. Then they mentioned, so after this process we mentioned regarding the Talib also is important, selecting his teacher carefully. Selecting of one teachers carefully. And after thing regarding the Talib, that also put an emphasis regarding studying matters of Aqidah. And / what they call manhaj. So the person regarding the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, upon the way of the Salaf al-Salih, so that Aqidah, that the person study Aqidah in the correct way, which is that Aqidah that can be referenced, that can be referred back to the Sahaba, wa tabi'in wa atba' tabi'in. So any aqidah a person study must go back to the Salaf. Before what they call Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, and also before Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari. Any aqidah in Islam that you're going to master and want to know what was the aqidah before these individuals. But they call al-Maturidiyya, Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, and also Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari. Because you have others who preceded them. What were their aqidah? So the person can also ensure for the talib that he put interest in matters regarding aqidah and al-manhaj. And also tadarruj. For the talib also, that this is also what the Shaykh has mentioned with his adding. So also regarding that tadarruj, the person understand, concerned with knowledge, that it has a pathway which is, it is acquired to tadarruj, to the person going through different tadarruj. Is tadarruj? Stages. So the person understand, it's not a 1 month the person will acquire everything. That's not the case. 1 month is not, you understand, you won't acquire everything. It's not 2 years, we acquire everything. Now I said no, it's a life effort. It's a life effort in seeking of knowledge, but the person of that tadarruj, starting as a beginner, and you start within the framework of a beginner and master that area of beginner, then you move up to the more intermediate level, then learn what needs to be learned within that level, and also in those levels you learn across the board in all the sciences. Then you can start setting out tadarruj, that you go up the ladder slowly and gradually. So that's of the things regarding concerning the talib. That's of the things regarding of those things regarding, and also overall that regarding of this man who said knowing the different science and how to approach them. So we have different science. Funun wa ulum ash-shar'iyya, knowing of those science. Hadith and its related science. Tafsir, Quran and its related science. Fiqh and its related science. So these are the things that so that's concerning that he gives like a pathway regarding how to go about seeking of knowledge and what is expected from the talib. So that's one account. That's one account. Then our next more account, another approach, or which is thing will be crossover, but more. So we have the work of Bakr Abu Zayd. So of more of contemporary, who have gone through most of those books. So a person who is known to be well read. So Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, alayhi rahmatullahi ta'ala, a person known to be well read. So also I put, from what you have read, you have put together like a small book regarding adab talib al-ilm. That book is called Hilyatu Talabat al-ilm. Now concerning the beautification of the adornment of the talib al-ilm. So can I somewhat mention like, you have different fusul regarding the thing that one should give attention and understand regarding the talib. So I mentioned in general, he mentioned first, Fasl Awwal, Adab Talib fi Nafsi. So that the first of those things the person has to take into account, the talib regarding his own personal conduct. Then he mentioned the next thing, Fasl Thani, Kayfiyat, Talab wa Talaqi, how the person go about seeking of knowledge. What's the pathway? What's the method? What's the system of seeking of knowledge? So the person on different levels. And we said now the person by way of tadarruj. So the person somewhat he takes that approach, which are the books to study seeking of knowledge from the shuyukh and the likes. Then he mentioned the third chapter, he mentioned adab talib ma shaykhi. That the next chapter that he discussed, the adab and protocol between the student towards the shaykh. Even have how to, when you walk in the shaykh, how to walk with him. You understand? So even have those type of protocol, those type of things that I mentioned, how to walk with the shaykh. You understand? How to speak with the shaykh. So all those things are somewhat covered regarding concerns. So those things will be covered. Then he also includes something which is important to mention, talaqi and al-mubtada. Regarding concern the things regarding the talib with his student, not taking knowledge from people who are said to be from Ahlul Bidah. For not taking ilm from Ahlul Bidah. So those people are known to be people of bid'ah. Then the general rule is to avoid them. The general rule is to avoid them. So not taken from the people of Ahli Bid'ah. Then he mentioned the 4th chapter regarding adab, which is zulama, which concerns with his colleagues. So it is zumala, his colleagues, how he relates with his other colleagues as talib al-ilm. Then also he mentioned of the adab al-talib fi hayatihi ilmiya, regarding concerning matters regarding that his life regarding ilmiya. So regarding that seeking of knowledge, that going out and traveling to seek of knowledge, what to memorize, how to record, how to write things down, and things of that nature. So those matters regarding concerns, how the person as a talib regarding being scholars, being somewhat academic in how they approach things, then having that academic approach. So he mentioned, that tahalli bil amal, which is important, the talib, that they said the thamarat al-ilm is for you to act upon it. And that's the reason why you're studying. So sometimes that we forget this, that the goal behind seeking of knowledge is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala correctly, and that is by the person manifesting that Islam in his life, by the practicality of it, applying Islam. So the talib, you understand, if he's not applying that knowledge, then it's what was the benefit, what was the purpose? If you're not going to live by it, then what was the purpose? So he mentioned regarding tahalli bil amal, that a person has to beautify himself with knowledge. So, and that's a sign of ilm al-nafi', that a person then, you can see that ilm, it manifests in the person. You see that knowledge manifests in the person. So for example, said Amaliya, the person said that if I get 4 students, one say I'm Hanbali, one say I'm Shafi, one say I'm Maliki, one say I'm Hanafi, and the one mentioned tonight, أنا اتباع salaf. They said that the Hanbali does pray as the Hanbali state in their books. The Shafi as the Shafi state in their books. The Maliki as the book state in the Maliki books. The Hanafi, you understand? Are we restricted to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon what is mentioned by that particular strand? So you see that, and so you find that each is out, the person is not restricted, the person on end that is there to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon wahi, which the Quran was sunnah. The person is there to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon al-wahi, not based upon, you understand, mere aqwal of the ulama. Just the aqwal of the ulama. Then he mentioned muhadhir, which are some of those things of caution that a student should try to prevent and not fall into. So of those things that the student should try to prevent and not fall into, where as a student, yes, you will make errors. Everyone will make errors, but not errors that become one that those things that he mentioned, that so errors that can be corrected and you can continue. But sometimes that the error, sometimes it may be the one that somewhat to to bring that student down and destroy their dawah, because the error was to such a degree that can somewhat not defame that person. It defame that person, and the loss of trust is removed, so the person knowledge become of no value to others. But overall, regarding the person that having a system regarding seeking of ilm, and those things that were mentioned, they are outlined in the books of adab al-talib, so we don't have to make it up, it's already there. So they know the pathway to ilm and how to function. We don't have to make something up, because it's already in place. It's just knowing it and following it. Then of the hadith it mentioned, of the next point that it discussed regarding, and they mentioned regarding concerning the benefit of ilm, regarding that of ilm, that encouragement regarding ilm, and Islam in many ways a praise of ilm, but also you'll find cases where ilm, but they divide into ilm al-nafi' wa ilm ghayr nafi'. The person knowing that knowledge which is said to be beneficial, and that knowledge is said to be non-beneficial. Beneficial and non-beneficial. So, and also after mention regarding concerning that لا تقوم الساعة إلا على شراء الخلق. They mentioned that the hour will not be established except on the worst of people, and because of the prevalence of jahl. That the hour will not be established except upon the worst of people, and that's because those people are said to be people of jahala. People are ignorant. So the absence of ilm, then jahl, ignorance, become more prominent. With the absence of ilm, then everything becomes confusion. And something I see that even concerns now, people are said to be tulab al-ilm. That they're not per se following the discipline as it is to be followed. So rather than bringing clarity, they come with more confusion. And that's because of, I said now, that the method being followed, the rules that are in place are not being followed. So I mentioned, so that's concerning of ilm, that, so I said no, for the talib al-ilm, that's that the person wish to embark upon knowledge, then he at some point needs to cover a book regarding adab al-talib. The earlier the better. That even they mentioned that even some of the books of hadith, of ulum al-hadith, and even the books of the fuqaha, usul al-fiqh, they'll have a chapter that they will discuss regarding the adab al-alim, or al-mufti, or al-muhaddith. They'll discuss al-sami'. They have the adab of the people of their science. So to make sure the person understand what are the rules that you have to abide by within this science. So not for you understand, so it not just you behave as you wish or want, there's rules. There's rules that are in place. So the talib have to understand the rules that are in place. And that's by reading the books of the ulama on this particular topic. Then it mentioned, the next part that I mentioned, ما جلس قوم في بيت من بيوت الله يتلون كتاب الله ويتدارسون فيما بينهم. So it mentioned that of the second part regarding that, still continue regarding encouragement regarding of knowledge. Then also the next regarding of those who mentioned that ما جلس قوم في بيت من بيوت الله, that a group of people that sit in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reading the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also studying it between themselves. That they mentioned regarding concerning that as for this matter, can mention that ما جلس قوم. So qawm sometimes may take the meaning of men, and qawm, so the word qawm at times may mean a group of men, with the exclusion of women. And at times qawm may take the meaning of men and women alike, combination of both. So they mention, Allah subhanahu mentioned in his book, كذبت قوم نوح, and that's both male and female. So the word qawm is used, but it includes both male and female, the society at large. And at times they mean only a specific group of people, which are men. But overall, I mentioned regarding concern that the qawm, that those people who are involved in the reciting of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They mentioned that recital, that either it is done by a group of people, that so mentioned that yatluna kitabullah, that is done by a group of people. So either meaning group is not in the sense of a group of people, for example 20 people, each reading together. A group of people in the masjid or wherever they may be. They mention here yatluna fi bayt min buyutillah, as the excellence also the masjid of studying the masjid. So also it shows regarding that the excellence of studying the masjid compared to other places, because it's mentioned in but mentioned the hadith, but it mentioned that a group of people reciting the Quran together. Is it to be understood that they're reciting the Quran, each either reciting his own portion from each doing their own reciting, but together? Understood? So he reading his own portion, but we're all doing it together at one time as a group, collectively. Is that what is intended? No. With me? With me?
So we say that.
So
everyone in their own corner kind of thing.
we have a group, we have a circle,
And everyone reading one portion, then it goes to.
and we do it all together at the same time.
Oh, at the same time.
Same time.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah.
You understand? So reading, each doing their own reciting, but we're doing it all at once. Then that's not what is intended.
Like a chorus kind of thing.
Oh, over what you want to describe it.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
So that's not what is intended. So the second, so that's one, so let's exclude that. So a group of 20, one reads and everyone else listens. And let us go around in that format. One person read, one ayah, few ayah, then go to the next person and go around in that circle, in that order, in that fashion. But each one read and everyone else listen. Where that person is reading something that is particular to him, but everyone would listen until he reads. Then go to the next person and he reads his portion and go to the next, but everyone listens. In a format, you might find out that a part where some people that if we read, we listen and we correct him, and they will move to the next person, and we go around that fashion. Then that's jaiz. That's not a problem. With me? Then you have the where each person is reading but on his own, and everyone else listens. And everyone listens. Then that's labas, no problem on that matter. So that's concerning what is intended. So that is what is intended. Not everyone reading together at the same time, where they're reading the same surah together, and unless it is by way of to teach. You have a teacher, and they're reading collectively behind the teacher. Then that's different. That's for educational purpose. With me? So that's concerning what is mentioned. Then I discuss concerning that of yatadarusuna, that it is stated regarding some of the ulama that they mentioned that many of the ulama, as I mentioned, استدل أكثرون على ذلك بهذا حديث وغيره من أحاديث دالة على استحباب اجتماع للذكر. That of the ulama mentioned that, you know, that this is used concerning that doing dhikr collectively. Doing, but in the sense of qiraat al-Quran. So in the sense of qiraat al-Quran, that it is something which is allowed. Imam Malik Olati dislikes it. Now, to collectively read in the masjid, collectively, Imam Malik, he dislikes this. But of the ulama mentioned something which is allowed. It is allowed.
Is there a reason why?
Then it mentioned that after what may have occurred, why he has that view, Allahu Alam, something to look into further. Then they mention next regarding concerning that that also the extent of the person studying of the Quran by way of teaching and learning the Quran by way of concerning. So the Quran also that as a science, which has become like a science regarding a person who specializes in the Quran as way of tafsir, ulum al-Quran, and that also have different science. So the Quran has different science within it. The Quran have different science within, just like Hadith have different science. The Quran also have different science. So a person said to be specialized in the Quran, then you find that the person have kind of somewhat, they know all those different science in the Quran. They know the difference. So of the science of the Quran that relates to the Quran, that we have ilm al-tajweed, ilm al-qira'ah, which is a different qira'at. Nam. Then we have concerning ulum al-Quran. We have mentioned before, ulum al-Quran, which is concerning the rules regarding thing that relates to the ulum al-Quran. Then we have usul al-tafsir, rules regarding how to make tafsir properly. Then also you have ilm. Also have qawaid al-tafsir. You have like the principles of tafsir. So you have usul al-tafsir and qawaid al-tafsir. Nam. Also they have and you have others which they some put as separate, but they somewhat under ulum al-Quran, which you have ilm al-nasikh wal-mansukh, ilm al-asbab al-nuzul, ilm al-gharib al-Quran. Those are sometimes mentioned separately, but they are under the bab of ulum al-Quran. Because of their importance, they are sometimes discussed separately. Because of the importance that they are discussed separately. And also the final of that is ilm al-tafsir, or kutub al-tafsir. So I said, you know, that you have the books that give tafsir of the Quran, and as I mentioned before, that also that have different manahij. So in tafsir, books of tafsir that we have, you have different manahij, different approaches in tafsir. So the mufassir was giving tafsir that you don't have to say it was one approach. You have several approach. Nam. So that's concerning of those matters. So the person that's not giving the Quran attention, then is what we hear more of ulum al-Quran, tajweed, qiraat, now becoming popular, and also at-tafsir. But you have other things that attach to that science. Ulum al-tafsir, ulum al-Quran, usul tafsir, which is ulum and the person who want to give tafsir must have studied or should study usul tafsir. So has to know how to approach making tafsir, doing tafsir correctly and properly. So that's concerning that area, those areas of Islamic or that particular science. And also, sure, we are given emphasis to the Quran. So you find out that even for the talib, that you should understand that in his library, so the talib in his library, you have books that relates to the Quran and its science. So you have books of tafsir and all different areas. So the person making up a library is books. You should have something of all the science in that field. You should have something of all the sciences within that field. So you have the broad topic of Quran, all the thing that relates to the science of the Quran. And you have other sciences of that relates to having something within those mutashabihat, al-ayat mutashabihat, and all those things. So having books in all those areas. So like at least one reference. I believe in at least 3 reference. So at least have 3 reference in everything. Even though that's not your area let's say your area of interest or specialization. So Talib have books in tafsir and its related science, hadith, the books of hadith and its related sciences, the books of aqidah and its related sciences, the books of fiqh based upon the madhahib and their related sciences, books of seerah and their related sciences, books of the language al-lugha and its related sciences, books of adab and its related sciences. You need all of those as a start. You need all of those as a start. So I said that the project of having a library can be more expensive. So that inshallah ta'ala, a time of gone. So overall concerning the general benefit of the hadith, and it mentioned the last part of the hadith concerning that it mentioned man batta bihi amalahu lam yusra bihi nasabu. That concerned a person who is somewhat not fulfilling or falls short in his actions, then his lineage won't benefit. He cannot use his lineage in the absence of knowledge. So the person cannot use his lineage as to replace his shortcomings in his action. So it shows the importance of the person that of being of those who are eager in performing of good deeds, and also that lineage it only goes to so far. So status, which is lineage, which is status, that not to overly give it is importance. Status, not to overly give those things its importance, but put things in their right place and order. As I mentioned, it concerns that al-ard la yaqaddis al-insan, that the place doesn't make you la yaqaddis, make a person like upright. I use the word upright. Somebody said another word that I'm thinking of. So the ard la yaqaddis al-insan doesn't make you a person that's not very pious by you just walking on that land. Alladhi yaqaddis al-insan amalu. The thing that made a person kind of somewhat upright is his actions. The thing that made a person really upright and outstanding is the person's action, not just because, I'm from this piece, I'm from this area, or I have this lineage, or I know these people, or my status, the position that I have in society. That's not the thing that make the person upright. Is the person's actions. So I said overall regarding this hadith, that I discussed concerning the matter as we have discussed regarding takaful, that a person can somewhat a person being compensated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever good that the person gives and is involved in, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate that person for that deed. And also it shows regarding the Muslim giving support to other Muslims. So the Muslim giving support to other Muslim in whatever capacity. Also it shows that so assisting the other Muslims, also that and show the Muslim that we care for each other, whether we are far or near. So we care for each other and concern for each other, and it goes beyond concern that so as a Muslim we should have concern for another Muslim. As a Muslim we should have concern for another Muslim, especially a Muslim who's going through hard times. So if one can assist that Muslim, then you assist that Muslim. That you assist that Muslim. So I said that with that, for us, a lesson to be learned, that we may be a part of a particular community. Maybe part of a particular community. It doesn't mean that our help is only for people of our community. Someone might come from outside and need our help and we can assist them. Why shouldn't they be assisted and be helped? So we shouldn't have restrictions that for me to help another Muslim, you have to be a part of my community. Understand? So that could be that community, where a building that you attach to, the community is this particular city or this borough. Or it could be things upon my manhaj and a Salafi, but he is Muslim, laysa Salafi. Because you're not Salafi, but you're in need, I can't help you because you're not Salafi, you don't have the card to say you're Salafi. That's not the case. So in certain things, why shouldn't I help that Muslim? You have a problem that you need help, stand financially. Are you Salafi? Are you Ikhwani? Are you this? Then those things doesn't come into play. With me? Because the person is Muslim and need help, and you are able to assist. When I say Ikhwan, doesn't mean that I'm Ikhwani, yeah? Make that clear online. You understand? So we have objections to that manhaj in the sense of yes, Muslim help a Muslim without you have to ask those questions. What's your affiliation? You're Muslim. Nam. So, assisting of the Muslim, and we mentioned at Taysir, that trying to also make things easy for other Muslim within one ability, like today, and how to put things in a proper place and order in making of Taysir. So, at Taysir, we're concerned with something which is Sharia, of making things easier according to what has been, or the rukhas that have been allowed in the Sharia, and things that ijtihadiyah. For example, today, someone came and said that they are a teacher in a school. They're a teacher in a school. So we know in England that when you're in the school and more like a primary school, when school hours, when you go in, everything is shut. The gate is shut. No one is, and you can't leave the school just like that. But they're Muslim in a school, but they allow the Muslim to pray. Is that a non-Muslim school, normal school? But you have a few Muslim in the school, 2 Muslim, but they have Jummah. What they do, because in school here, they can't just leave break time. That's the case, huh? They can't. Sir, you with me?
Yeah.
So what do? 2 Muslim in the school, male, is Jummah. They can't be leaving every week. Hey, so in that case, concerned the ulama discussion, say, have a discussion between ulama regarding al-Jum'ah. How many is the least amount of people required? Some say 2 as the Jama'ah. 2 is considered to be Jama'ah. So the discussion regarding Jum'ah is 2 sufficient, or you need 3 or more. With me? So it says that if the ulama have a view regarding concerns, a view that is there and taken by a reputable ulama regarding that, 2 is sufficient. In that case, they might take off that view, incline toward that view based upon the circumstance. Clear? So you might find some says so those rukhas at time, the person might take a few view. For example, that alim may take that view because the circumstance might say, no, he might give you an allowance based upon that circumstance. But ordinarily he wouldn't. But based upon that situation, circumstance, and it's a view that is already known and discussed between the ulama. So the Jama'ah, is it 2 or 3 upwards? So the least they mention 2, the least are mentioned 3. And those who are as a position. So you might say leniency, trying to make things understand, for the person to pray Jummah, both of you pray Jummah. One of you be the Imam, and rather than you pray Dhuhr, Salah. So it's known to put those rukhas, if they're there, in order, in their proper place, if they're needed. But overall, concerning at-Taysir, we said within the guidelines of Islam. Within the guidelines of Islam. So the person, okay, it's just me alone in the school. And he said, because just you, okay, just do Jummah by yourself. Then no, because no one take that view. You understand? No one is of that view, except for you. Who, you understand? Start this new, you understand? So, so if it's not, it's two of us, me, male, and the other one, a female. No. You understand? You're still one. Now, so no one said how to put things together. So they mentioned that, so even more so regarding the Muslim having, but over again, the Muslim have concern regarding other Muslims and their affairs. And not be kind of somewhat, either too, we become too restrictive of that allegiance to other Muslim. You become restrictive to allegiance to other Muslims. In the time of need, in the time of difficulties, you understand? In no case, in no sense, it is befitting for a Muslim in the time of a Muslim need, of hardship, that we seem if we are siding with the enemies. We should always try to avoid that. Is it those people who do what? That at the time of the Muslim going through difficulties and hardship collectively as a group of Muslim that's being killed and destroyed, that in any way we seem as if, say any word that may help the enemies against those Muslims. That's unbefitting. That's unbefitting. So can someone to utter those words make it seem as if you are siding with them against the Muslim. That's unbefitting. And sometimes it's something you find that some of the Muslims can somewhat, they may come over that way. They might come over that way, as if you're siding with the enemies against the Muslim. Kaif. How is that? So, assisting each other, you understand, that's a priority regarding akhuwa and trying to assist and aid the Muslim. So that inshallah will end this hadith, and also the hadith end regarding the virtue towards ilm and the Quran and studying. So also as a motivation for us. So that inshallah will end. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه السبيل والآخر الحمد لله.